flex. This life I can't give myself. I can't give myself. I can't give myself. Allow me to flex. Yo go 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 yo go go go. When you the win and go say now yo. Yo go 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 yo go go go. Some people say I go babalawo. Never.
Okay, and a warm welcome to you. This is the Saturday Show. My name is Mary Williams, and joining as usual, we're gonna do a rundown of top. You know the rest. I've been calling it. All right. A lot has happened during the week, and we're going to run down those that we feel are most topical. Obviously, the debacle in the CPP will be thoroughly discussed. But we're going to start off with what government is doing, and the part of government. Some good news from government. Good news that we can actually use. Dumoe, welcome to the show.
Oh. Well, they're here again.
Yes. Yeah, again. Right. I think we have a little technical issues. Okay, I think we're set now. All right. Yeah, so government of Liberia signs a deal with ArcelorMittal, and is a $800 million a deal. I'm just gonna read a bit of
the deal. Is this?
It's an agreement, amendment of the mineral development agreement. It's an agreement.
Yeah, it's just them like expanding their operation.
Right. But it's good news to hear that
more money will be infused into the company.
Yes, and also yes, and also what we hear is just to give excerpts of it. It says that expansion project, which encompasses processing, rail, and port facilities, will be one of the largest mining projects in West Africa. The capital required to finalize the project is expected to be approximately 0.8 billion United States dollars, as it's effectively a brownfield expansion. The expansion project includes the concentration plant and the substantial expansion of mining operations, with the first concentrated expected in late 2023, ramping up to 15 million tons per annum. Under the agreement, the company will have reservation for expansion to at least up to 30 metric tons. Other users may be allowed to invest in additional rail capacity. And these are the economic benefits. As the largest foreign investor in Liberia, ArcelorMittal has invested over 1.7 billion in the country over the past 15 years. More than 2,000 jobs are expected to be created during the construction phase, with Liberians envisaged to fill majority of the roles created. ArcelorMittal operates vocational training centers and provides 2-year residential certificate training in mechanical and electrical trades. As part of the expansion, ArcelorMittal Liberia is also high potential Liberian employees who will gain on job experience and knowledge in ArcelorMittal mining operations globally. Employees will receive advanced training in the fields of mining, production, and operation optimization, plant maintenance, planning and execution, plant electrical operation systems, and electrical maintenance. Other training areas will include plant fitting and heavy duty mobile equipment maintenance, and as well as mine production and operations. I'm just gonna leave it there. So that's good news. Any company to provide jobs in a badly needed job market is welcoming. I should also note that we have to balance our need for mining and deforestation that is from mining and the fallout of mining. So pollution and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean that's on the environmental side. So hopefully
Right.
they'll do an environmental impact assessment, and
Mm.
that the relevant government agencies
Mm.
will see to it that the expansion of mining activities by Mittal Steel
Mm.
um, is not harmful
Mm.
to the environment.
Right.
But I think this has been a long time coming. This was
Mhm.
announced, I think, about a year ago,
Right.
that the $800 million expansion by Mittal Steel was going to occur.
Mm.
The GOL badly needs FDI flows
Right.
as the economy, in response to uncertainties. And first, the first half, when you get elected as a new president in a post on mill, post Salif environment.
Right.
What?
Go ahead.
In the
So you
post,
can breathe.
okay, in the post on mill and post Salif environment,
Mm.
investors were right to take a cautious look and see approach.
Right.
That also cost us,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course the advent of the diseases
Mm-hmm.
and unpopular fiscal policies
Mm.
that generated a lot of political tension.
Mm-hmm.
All of that played against the government ability to attract
Right.
investment. And we look at even this $800 million is not from new investors.
Mhm.
These investors are already in the water.
existent, yeah.
15
15 years already.
years in the game,
Mhm.
just trying to expand.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Mhm.
I can see a lot of upsides to it, but then again,
No, but it's important that we recognize that this is good, given the fact that there are other companies that have left. So instead of trying to improve those who are already here, they've left. So this is a good thing that they're staying. And others have tried to downsize. Firestone, for instance, we know all the drama over there. So it's good to see that government's actually making these kinds of efforts now, and they're trying to see if they can improve the livelihood of its citizens. One would hope that okay, I understand all of the roles that have been given to librarians to fill, but we also have to um, appreciate the fact that, well, companies want return on their investment, so they're not gonna, you know, if you're not going to qualify, if you're not qualified for it, they're going to bring in people who are. So it would be beholden on Liberian um workers to make sure that they make use of this opportunity as best as they possibly can.
but it's common sense. When you look at the mining sector, it's not really the sector to look to for jobs.
Mhm.
It's a sector to look to for a lot of revenue
Mhm.
that you can in turn properly invest in other sectors. The natural resource curse usually is that wherever you have oil or big resources like iron ore,
Mhm.
is that the government tend to take its eye off prudent tax policies to properly capture domestic revenue. They become extremely over reliant on the big payment coming from these mining companies or
Right.
oil companies, and ignore proper policy making, ignore the local private sector, because they don't need to talk to them to really finance their growth.
Right.
And they tend to just become lazy,
Mhm.
just overly reliant on
But we have
those big
we
checks.
have the
But I'm
case
saying,
of the Botswana
yeah, I'm saying, without
Mhm.
getting into the whole
product.
spread of it,
Mhm.
just to say that mine, you should keep your eye open as you negotiate in terms of royalties
Mhm.
and corporate income tax,
Mhm.
because there's been a lot of studies
Mhm.
on how countries like Liberia or other African countries
Mhm.
lose a lot because they're not able to negotiate properly.
Yeah, but they need to attract them.
I'm coming. This one is here. You don't need, this one is already
Yeah,
here.
but you have to keep
They-
them.
I know, but that is not the right mindset to have. If you think excessively like that, you're gonna get screwed over, because these companies, they're not charities.
No, they're not.
I'm not saying take a nasty attitude,
Mhm.
but I'm saying negotiate properly. You need proper accounting mechanism to make sure that tax authorities, people in tax houses, are not making deals
Right.
with
That's a
with the
that's true.
companies, and the companies themselves are not angels.
Mhm.
You have to, because
Because
when we talk about taking the economy, for example, and allow me to do small marketing. When we talk about taking the economy to $1 billion,
Right.
it's about filling these loopholes. It's about properly checking on the company accounts
Mhm.
because they buy from multiple countries.
Right.
They,
Mhm.
so it tells us $800 million
Mhm.
alone
Mhm.
in the way they could overstick the pricing of this. So it's
Are you saying that the 800 million is not really 800 million?
it's a big number.
Right.
And
It looks
anytime I
good.
hear a big number, I get suspicious. But
$16 billion foreign direct investment.
yes, it's a big number. If you don't take proper look at it, you could get carried away by it.
Right.
But I hope the we are administration, God knows they need money.
Mhm.
They would go through this with a fine-tooth
Right.
comb and not just be excited about the potential jobs.
Mhm.
It is you are very wrong if you look to mines for jobs. You look to mines for a lot of revenue, not jobs, because mining sector is capital intensive. They use a lot of
Mhm.
machinery,
Mhm.
and the type of machines they're using. It is very unlikely you're going to get people here who are able to fill a lot
Operate
of
it,
those
yeah.
mining positions. So
Mhm.
don't look to that should not be your strategy. They shouldn't. Don't look for development from them.
Mhm.
Don't look for jobs from them. Look to capture revenue that you can invest.
But what about social
That those
impact?
things are distraction. Put all of that into how you tax them.
Okay.
So you can do a taxation as
Mhm.
rationalized
Mhm.
by the negative long-term impact on the environment.
Right.
So in terms of how, in addition to the royalties
Mhm.
that you get because you are the actual owner
Mhm.
of these natural resources,
Mhm.
you should also fashion some sort of a environmental tax on top of it
Right.
to make up to create alternative sources of livelihoods for
Mhm.
people whose livelihoods will be disturbed by your expansion,
Right.
communities that live there, and make sure a lot of the money stay at the local a fair share stays at the local level because it
In the
puts a lot of
surrounding
pressure.
areas, right.
Yes, it put a lot of pressure on society closely located
Mhm.
around the mines.
Mhm.
So just that GOL needs to be smart. I'm not saying that anybody else did it better,
Right.
but they have an opportunity to do it better.
Haven't learned.
Yes.
Right.
Like I
But do you
said,
think they have the wherewithal to have that kind of strategy, knowing fully well that they really badly needed this and they needed this win, and therefore being trying to overly, because I remember the fight between GOL and Firestone. There's always a fight between a government and Firestone, it seems. But the fight between GOL and Firestone and other companies that have left must have kept government in a position where they're not in a strong position to bargain the way you're talking about.
but that comes from the way they communicate.
Mm.
This economy has been kept alive by services
Mhm.
sector
Mhm.
and the informal sector
Mhm.
for a while.
Mhm.
So if you show too great of a desperation, that's why you should start looking to them for
Mhm.
jobs because they can
Mhm.
smell it.
Right.
And once you show desperation, you will be taken for a ride.
Mm.
They will try to drive it down. If they realize they can get it on the cheap, they're
Mm.
going to try to get it for the cheapest.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Closely followed to that, we're going to touch it. We're going to touch on Guinea. But we can't
Mhm.
escape that. That
Yeah.
is so pivotal to happenings in West Africa. But let me just go to this that links directly to our last subject. CNN analyst Bakary Sellers registers to work on behalf of the Liberian government. Now, I'm choosing to read this story from Fox News. Reason being, I wanted to see the perspective. We know we've heard what we've said locally, right?
Mhm.
We've heard from the local newspapers and the way local newspapers have carried it. I felt the need to go see how the foreign newspapers are carrying it, or foreign media generally are carrying it. And I'm reading this from Fox News. And it says a CNN analyst would be paid a salary for working on behalf of the Liberian government. Liberian CNN analyst Bakary Sellers has registered under the Foreign Agents Registration Act to work on behalf of the Liberian government. Documents filed with the Department of Justice on Wednesday shows that Sellers will be working on behalf of the Liberian government. The CNN analyst also acknowledged that he would be paid a salary for his work. Sellers wrote that he would help with, quote, developing and executing a U.S. media and press engagement strategy for the Republic, president, and key officials to raise Liberia's profile in U.S. media and bring positive attention to the Republic and American and African American audiences. End of quote. Washington first flagged sellers registered. Liberia criminalizes homosexuality. End of quote. Indeed, the State Department warned in March of 2021 report that Liberia's human rights issues include, quote, arbitrarily killing by police, cases of cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment of or punishment by police, harsh and life threatening prison conditions, arbitrary detention by government officials, serious problem with the independence of the judiciary, serious restriction on freedom of the press, including violence and threats or violence against journalists, official corruption, and lack of investigation and accountability for violence against women, and the existence of or use of laws criminalizing consensual same-sex sexual conduct between adults and the worst forms of child labor. End of quote. CNN did not immediately respond to the request for comment. It's unclear if CNN considers sellers working on behalf of West African nation a conflict of interest. In 2012, Liberia prohibited same-sex. So just talking about same-sex. I just wanted to read that.
I read that, but I just saw it as Fox FM trying to take a dig. I mean, not Fox FM, Fox News Corporation trying to take a dig at its rival, CNN. That it has an analyst that's working for a country that has the same values as Republicans that they condemn.
What stuck out to me was the State Department 2021.
Right.
The fact that we're quoting all of that, shows how much work government needs to do. I remember a few years ago where the government contact was supposed to be Rudy Giuliani, and that didn't really pan out as much as government had hoped it would. And the problem government has is, I'm not even sure Jesus Christ can do this work at this point for this government. I'm not sure what I understand.
In the PR business,
he's supposed to be in all business, so I'm sure. Yeah, so I'm sure he should be able to do it. However, I understand. So obviously, apart from being a CNN analyst, he's also a staunch Democratic, having run as the youngest representative in an election.
Bakari Sela.
Yeah. So he comes from a Democratic background with strong roots within the Democratic Party, which is currently in the White House. I don't know how he parlays that in his work to help government. I'm not sure what the terms of reference are for him, and what the vision and the expected,
but it says,
what the expectation.
It says the one positive coverage.
Yeah, but what's the okay? So then the positive coverage. Then what does that? How does Liberia now use
goodwill in the halls of power in Washington? Key visits. I'm supposing they would like to use his connection within the Democratic Party to book appointments with key people and get their ears. That's what I think they will be paying him that money for. But the most important thing to the government is itself and its ability to deliver, because Bakari has to be quoting things that are factual,
right?
Because they have to be checkable,
right?
And he doesn't want to. He has to live in America.
Mm-hmm.
He can't hide away in Liberia. He has to live in America. Mm-hmm. So he cannot, for any client, be caught telling lies, or like we say, people
can finesse the truth,
or
omit.
Well, yeah, you can position things, but the government will have to give him some good news,
right?
And the news has to be factual because it will be checked.
Excuse me.
Yes, you have a good footballer. Now you just need a good football. Since it's a footballer-led government.
My point is that why do you think it was impossible? Because Giuliani had, with the Trump administration, they were more interactional. I say in transactional, right? So I'm wondering why they could not succeed with an environment like that, where the checks wasn't as vigorous as this would be,
Right. But at the end of the day, also you have to look at the connectors to Giuliani. I understand Henry Costa played a role in it. And I think that then flowed through Ben Ure and so those lines. Uh, Policy in the way they craft foreign policy over there. I think first up the food chain will
Right
be
now it's Taiwan
now, yeah,
and
because
Ukraine.
they have their pivot to Asia, meant to check
And Ukraine.
Chinese dominance of Asia.
Mhm.
So of course they had their war against terror, so that means that made the Middle East and Iran very important to them. The
Oil.
Israel issue. So it is now about oil or serious geopolitical theaters where major powers are playing. The Middle East is important not just because of oil, but because key global actors are playing in that environment. Is where the big boys hang out. So Africa, yes, the resources they can get from here is important, but not that high up the food chain. And then you had a president like Donald Trump who was a nativist, who sort of like turned his focus inward. And so if Africa is already low, Liberia is even lower. Because when it came to Africa, Trump just stuck to the big boys. He wanted to meet the South African president, the Nigerian president, and maybe Egypt. Very important military ally. But Liberia, not so much. It's very difficult to get Liberia on the agenda.
Unless you have a war.
Or unless you have a good narrative.
Yeah,
unless you have a good narrative. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf had a very good narrative, and very good connection with the Bushes, some segment of the Republican Party, but also in the Democratic Party. But she got a lot of airplay because she was good for the president at the time. George Bush really took her in, and then George Bush's successor, Barack Obama, had a friend of Ellen, who's Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State. So that really played.
And she already worked in the institution,
and she had a story. She had a story you could sell, like the first
female
African president
with the U.S. hadn't had.
And that was great. And Hillary loved that story because she was hoping to be the first female president
in the
U.S. So think about having a correlation with the Clintons behind you. And then Tony Blair became a personal advisor to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who understands the European playing field. And so a lot of allies that we don't. I mean, we has Macron to talk for him in Europe, and frequently whenever he's in need of showing that he's not isolated, he will fly to Paris and he'll receive hugs even during COVID times. But if America doesn't say that you are doing well as a Liberian president, that is a minus for you with the Liberian intelligentsia, and it would never go away. Nobody has forgotten that we are yet to meet an American president, and we knows that. So I think this deal with Bakary Saleh is to see how you can use the charming black Democratic guy, because Biden has shown a soft side for nominating. Even this morning I read a Ghanaian young lady to be a judge in California. So and then a Nigerian an American with Nigerian origin to the Treasury. Any white man I can trust, Nigerian men with money, really love Africans. really love Africans. So I think we and them are trying. Number one, they went for a guy who's black. They're trying to make that connection with the African American bloc.
Sell, like you said, he can't sell it in a vacuum.
No, so the first step for marketing is good product.
Yeah, his work. That's why I use Jesus Christ as my look. You gotta have the.
You're not married and using Jesus. It's just
but
too
I don't
much
want
biblical.
But I don't want who his. I can talk about it. Yeah, I can talk about his. Yeah, right. And my thing is, I applaud the effort they're making. However, no, but this is not A for effort. This is F for effort. Yeah, because the effort to result in the action we're looking for, the product, like you said, has to be such that you can sell it. Okay, because Bakary is not going to manufacture magic. And I just want everybody to be clear on that, that it is the negative news that you've heard here, that Bakary is also heard. And in his attempt to change that narrative, the government has to begin to have the good news here. So it beholds on the government to get into all the things the State Department listed: accountability, corruption, freedom of the press, those kinds of things. That needs to begin to happen so that Bakary has the goods he needs to sell.
Right.
You know.
So it's not smart for the government people to say, oh, we got a great communicator in Washington D.C. Now we can all just go hang out at the bar and forget to do our
Have a
job,
good time.
or we can continue the way we've been running the country, which is not in the right direction.
Right.
And this American chap will fix it for us. That
Right.
would be delusion.
Right. How much is he being paid?
I don't know. I've heard a lot of figures banded about, but I know that almost every African government is doing the thing.
Yeah, but
They're
how
all
much is
paying.
it being paid?
I don't know.
Because we haven't heard the
But you
amount.
can
There was a
find
lot
it.
of noise.
It's public. It has to be public because American law forces you
to
say
declare
who you're working for, how much
and how much
you.
they're paying you. However, I did not see that. I saw what was on the DOJ, but I
Right.
didn't see a sum attached to it.
Right, but I'm sure
So I
we
think
can find
maybe
it.
maybe he's filing with SEC if he's. I'm thinking of where his filing would be for you to see them.
Well, I mean, you could also use the local laws and try to
Information.
Freedom of Information Act. We all assume it won't work
Until it does.
But it's there. They're paying the guys.
Mhm.
They're paying the guys at the commission, the Freedom of Information
Yeah,
Commission, or
right.
whatever. They're there.
Mm.
They get their salary, and everyone believes that if you write a Freedom of Information request, you won't get it. It's their job to make the entity,
Work.
to make the entity you're requesting the information from give it to you.
Right. And if they don't,
well, you have a right to file lawsuits.
Okay.
So that's where civil society comes in.
Right.
You put the resources and you test the system. You don't sit and assume that it won't work. I actually have plans in my mind to try and push to get we as asset declaration public. I mean, to be given to me. I and others.
I'm choking.
Yeah, Mary, you can be choking, but we will do it.
I'm choking. Which of his asset though? Because his LSCC, that LSCC asset declaration. Yeah, I don't know if he included the 47 houses that we can see.
And then we can also push for him to update it because when he did it
in 2018,
a lot has changed.
He didn't have some of the things he has today.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that'll give us a fair shot, but I think the president should be open. His supporters say he's not doing anything wrong.
Right.
So.
But they say he has the country at heart. So No, but I've been looking for a person with the X-ray.
So when we get into the opposition,
no, with the X-ray, so we can see it.
Not meeting the medical doctor.
No X-ray. It says in the heart X-ray. Guinea, quickly before we move on.
Well, everyone's seen it. It's on Facebook. It's everywhere. There's a new name in town. Even though people think it's me, my name is Dumoe, not Dumuya.
But we'll call you, people have been calling you Dumoe ever since. Now you want extricate yourself.
Yeah, but it's pretty easy to see that I'm not that tall.
Exactly. The guy is huge, huh?
Yeah, I understand.
Tall and dark.
Liberian ladies are writing
posts
about him. Yeah, people talking a serious thing. I saw somebody wrote on Facebook, the man handsome, he tall. So we that are not tall, we know what that means.
But everybody has a preference.
Dumoe, apart from the height, seems to be the man in charge in Guinea, and took over last Sunday.
Right.
I was watching commentary on this from a Ghanaian diplomat who's very familiar, who had sources in Guinea, tell him that there was a segment of the president's political circle that wanted Mr. Dumoe gone because Dumoe was the head of the elite guard, the presidential guard. They wanted him out because they thought he was corrupt and that he was getting too powerful. And I think he got wind of this.
Right.
And
so he struck first?
There may be more complex reasons behind it. But we are told, by this guy that there was a false flag coup that Dumoe reported that, chief, there is a attempt at an uprising at a camp, I think a few kilometers outside of Conakry. So he was seeking permission to mobilize men to go and put down the coup. Because something like that happened about a year ago.
Right.
So that allowed for him to mobilize forces without arousing suspicion. Then they go there, they fake, putting down the coup,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Came
they
back.
communicate with the presidential palace that they were coming to provide briefing. But so heavy was their
Briefing crew.
was the crew that was coming that they met some resistance.
Right.
So if you hear of exchange of fires, that's where that happened. But obviously, because Dumoe had mobilized earlier, he had an element of surprise.
Right.
He also had greater
Military
numerical,
on him.
numerical strength and well armed,
Mhm.
better armed
Yeah.
than the palace guard that are used to a certain level of threat.
Right.
So they were quickly overpowered. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, but from what I heard, I mean, in 2021, we're still talking about coups in Africa. Well, not just in Africa, in some other countries, but in Africa particularly,
Continent, you
we're
mean.
still talking about in Africa. We're still talking about coups in 2021. We had one in Mali. Is it Mali?
Yeah, we've had 5 coups this year.
Yeah. So what is it? So like in Guinea, for instance, the reason why Guinea's issue becomes a big deal to us, not only the proximity. not only the proximity, the fact that we're relies on them in a lot of things. So critical supplies coming from. So it's not like Mali or was it Chad? Which other country?
They're more distant.
Yeah, they're more distant. So you can actually look at them and go. And even with Burkina Faso going on there, we could actually go quarantine them, and But with Guinea, it's like it's close to home. And for what I gathered is that the noise over
Constitution,
the not just the constitution, discontentment had been ongoing before he even changed the constitution and before he even, because that we can't ignore that, which is why the ECOWAS and the AU folks who are now talking today is like, well, you didn't see all these things, because when you see the warning signs, that's the time to call people to order.
But Mary, I know people like to bash ECOWAS, but let's take a calm, good look at this. There is something called sovereignty.
Yes.
That limits
how much you can do,
how much external players can do. Then there is ECOWAS protocols, ECOWAS chart, and key principles of ECOWAS around non-interference and so on and so forth. Although some of that has been limited by human rights, by development of human rights law in international law, and new concepts around responsibility to protect and where civilian casualties or potential harm to civilian populations, the so-called Yaya Jammeh experiment in Gambia, where, for example, the narrative was deployed that had Jammeh tried to entrench himself, there would be a need to deploy regional standby force, which has a humanitarian mandate supported by AFRICOM. And of course, Big Brother Nigeria would provide the manpower. The Westerners will provide the media, the media coverage and the financing,
and the firearms,
and justification. But it is difficult to insert ECOWAS into the national theater to do anything really about the issues that had been burning in Guinea. So Condé refused to have legislative elections for a very long time, local elections. He overly concentrated
central power.
He over centralized power. As a professor of law and a long time advocate of liberal democracy, a lot of people
expected more.
Were shocked. So because the institutions are weak, he thought increasing his own power would improve his safety. The regional body could not have, for example, gone in to say or threaten to deploy forces, a military force, or even isolate him, because most of these African countries are outward looking. So Guinea connects to the rest of the world through an ocean. They have a seaport. Mali is difficult. Gambia was in a geographic prison because it's surrounded by, Guinea is, how do you call it? Gambia is an artificial country created in the middle of Senegal. Right? So it's surrounded by Senegal, a bigger military player that could immediately sweep in and squash the entire government. And so they didn't have the military wherewithal to assert their sovereignty. So that's a different
calculation.
That's a different calculation.
Mhm.
In terms of, if you try to enforce
No, but how about a conversation?
I
How
come-
about
rebuke,
yes, how about that?
sh-
To be on record
but-
that you've done this, but he did not listen, and therefore,
but he sort of, Alpha Conde being the professor of law that he was,
Mhm.
he sort of laid a legal basis
Mm.
for his actions,
Mm.
utilizing his numbers in the parliament.
Mhm.
He laid a legislative basis for constitutional reform.
Mhm.
He laced the reform with a lot of rights of women
Mhm.
and protection from FGM,
Mhm.
female genital
Right,
mutilation,
that particularly.
key human rights issues.
Mhm.
He threw all of those candies at the international community too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the moral of it was that it was presented as the choice of the Guinean people,
Right.
because there was a referendum.
Mhm.
The votes were counted,
Mhm.
and there were observers allowed to observe it.
But the observers
But
complained about the
Technicalities
yes,
and
a lot,
problems,
a lot.
but in
Mhm.
the end,
Mhm.
there was acceptable language there.
Right.
And the United Nations Charter
Mhm.
also has in it very strong wording about self-determination
Mhm.
of countries.
Mhm.
So ECOWAS and other regional bodies are prevented from playing an overshadowing role in people's countries.
Mhm.
And the same Guinean that would tell you, why didn't you talk about it, would have been the same Guinean to say, what are you doing in my country? This is our country.
problem.
This is not your problem.
Mhm.
It's our internal matter.
Right.
So because he didn't do it by force of arm, Conde,
Mhm.
he was sort of justified in that this was what the majority of people went to the
Wanted.
polls. There were videos of people lined up and voting for this.
But there was
And
also videos of
even
violence
though it departs from the norm,
Mhm.
it is their right to determine themselves. So
Mhm.
this is how he sort of justified it. So the hollow nature of that legitimacy
Mhm.
is starting to show.
Right.
The constant disruptions,
Right.
the demonstrations where
Mhm.
to break them apart, you have to shoot demonstrators,
Right.
live bullets.
Mhm.
And then the ethnic tone his
Mhm.
last campaign took,
Yeah.
pitting the Mandingos against the Fula,
Mhm.
creating a tribal correlation between he and the Sosos
Right.
to put down the opposition that were cast as arrogant Fula people.
Right.
So all of that created enough tension in society to lay the basis for what we're witnessing.
Don't African leaders, especially once they've outlived their usefulness, or let me use the word better, their regular term, then to stay on, then they go after those culture wars, so those ethnic things that they feel can have more sentimental value to human, because I mean the Madingo and the Fula situation in Guinea, as I understand it, the Fula people happen to be, which is
The
interesting.
Fula is the hands down
the
majority, 43%.
Not just majority, they're more educated, they're more but they seem to be, as I understand it, more self-centered than the other tribes, i.e. they're not welcoming of the other tribes.
Well,
which
that's
is how
the
they're selling
narrative that's deployed against them.
which is how they're selling it, and they're saying, well, we're because the opposite of that is, but we're betting ourselves, which means therefore, if you're not doing the same thing, that's not on us. You could throw that out too, that it's not our fault you're refusing.
So he's made it about ethnicity rather than policy.
Exactly. And most African, Mugabe did it. That was white against black farmers and all that.
And
you
also
go after things,
his tribal people.
yeah, and you go after things that, my issue with Rwanda, for instance, which is the only other one where, okay, so he's doing well, but if you're changing the constitution, I think that's the point here. And the president where that is, made a good point to say, don't do this, right? And I'm hoping he will take his own advice. No, but because all those Sidisha who are saying 24 years loading, yeah. I'm hoping that but it's a good point he made, but he needs to take his own advice, right? But it's a good point to make that don't tinker with the constitution. If you're as good as you have an apprentice that you can hand over to, you cannot be the
you see that's where the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Joseph Kabila comes in.
Right.
The problem on the continent in Africa, in my mind, with presidents staying longer, it can't be about money. They already have the national treasury at their disposal. It's not about the continuing to enjoy the largesse. It is about safety. in all my calculations, and when I say safety, I don't mean that just simplistically safety from physical harm, although that's number one. How do you exit the presidency? Knowing the weaknesses of the institutions. For example, look how the CDC government was able to remove Kabina Jane from his Supreme Court seat. They know everything they did. They know the Supreme Court not going to be as fair as the book say.
Right.
They know you can give envelopes to legislators and have them vote one way or the other, regardless of what the evidence or good conscience would demand. Because they know that, they can't imagine
not being in control,
and risking their opponent, whom in most circumstances are in the better position to replace them. Being in control of those devices of state. So look at the misfortune of Lungu, the guy in Zambia. HH, the opposition leader, is now coming in, but he used to frequently arrest HH. So now you must imagine how his life is going to be going forward. And because of the American institutions, apart from Donald Trump, who was throwing a tantrum, American presidents are quite capable of letting go because their successors, whether they hate their guts, cannot manipulate the institutions and put them in the jail cell or put them on firing squad or like come and kill everyone in their house. That to me is exiting. That's difficult. I think that's why they're in the trap. In some places, also fear of economic destitution. In Liberia, people usually mention the Jenkins Scott thing, where he used to be a top-ranking government official, just like ended up picking garbage from the streets, living, on garbage. Yes. So in Kenya, they came up with a plan where former president, I think it was Mwai Kibaki or something like that, was given all these perks. They legislated a retirement plan.
I think Ghana is also done the same thing.
Yes. So even in Liberia, and I'm not taking a dig at the former vice president, but we had to hear about him receiving 10,000, raising money for health, and then Henry Costa doing GoFundMe and so on and so forth. It is this type of fate that people fear. That's why they cling on to power. But if we were to provide in the constitution, like in Ghana, they even have ex gratia payments. Even if you were a former minister, in fact, in the Ghanaian constitution language, they say no former president should be seen to suffer. Seen to suffer. They should not only be living well, but it should be clear that they are living well. They secure lifetime security. Like
I think it's mirrored after the U.S.
I'm no Unity Party man. But why is it that Joseph Newman Walker, for example, don't still have EPS protection? He should. Because in his position as vice president, he associated with decisions that may have adversely affected people who may keep it against him. So he was doing that on behalf of the state.
Country.
And so he has to be entitled to some of these things. We do it, and we just, everybody, look at former head of state, Judy Bryant. During his time of need, it was also seen that there was no legislated
even because I remember the vice president that we did fundraising for on air. I was one of those who did that.
I think he passed. Moses Blah.
I remember that.
Total destitution, loss of stature. Whereas
is that not also a function of they themselves not having an exit strategy for the position they're in?
So it's mixed. So a new strategy has come, introduced in my mind by not Ellen. Joseph Kabila. He used it first. I actually thought she was going to use Kabila's strategy A, but she didn't use it. She used his B. His B was very simple. His first of all strategy A was when his 2-term limits finished, he pretended as though he doesn't read. He doesn't read, he doesn't hear, he doesn't know dates. So Mary, election was supposed to be organized like in 2014. The guy just ignored everything. The electoral bodies kept reminding him. Civil society said, according to the calendar, you're going to have election. He doesn't say anything. Not a single press conference to even say, I'm not having election. But you can't also do anything to him because he hasn't told you he's not having election. He waits till it's about 6 weeks to the election, and he announced that the election commission has given him a bill of about $2 billion. He doesn't have the money. Can anyone help him with money to organize election? The opposition took to the streets. Of course, you can't demonstrate your way out of it.
Right.
So he cut a deal with the opposition. They allowed him to continue his term to organize elections. So he got another 2 years trying to organize election. When he ran out of that, because the Catholic Bishop Conference in Congo, very powerful, very influential group. So I think most of them are Catholics.
Yes.
So they tend to listen to the Catholic Church. But after blood and treasury was spent to get an agreement, he couldn't play that trick again.
Right.
So he cut a deal with the opposition leader and said, I think his name is Tshisekedi.
Yeah.
He cut a deal with Tshisekedi and said, you run, I'll back you. You will win. He undermined his own party candidate.
Right. That reminds me of somebody.
That reminds me of Monrovia. He undermined his own party. He undermined his own party candidate.
Right.
And the guy was successful. Tshisekedi was successful. He handed power. Everyone was wondering how the opposition took over.
Right.
And Joseph Kabila has just relaxed. He even grew a beard. Yeah. He made a farm. They were calling the Garden of Eden because he had all the animals in pairs. You know, the guy is doing things. It was only after a year or two or whatever that he started to seem overbearing for the new president. Small tension. Right. Like we saw in Liberia, Ellen asking Wia if he knows GDP. Yeah. He asking her why people are still suffering. She knows GDP. You know, those kind of opulence. Opulence was a popular one. Right. Those sort of skimmages, but by and large, they're fine. All right. So it's the ability to find this exit strategy. Apparently, what's his name? So there are two presidents now that struggled to find an exit strategy. I think Ellen found her exit strategy through CDC compound, right? People don't realize that her house is not far from CDC compound.
Right beside it. They always have the
same.
She
got to deal with her neighbors. And she had successful turnover. And she could leave the executive mansion. In fact, she was dying to leave. And you know, one of my friends was saying, you know, when we had that case in the court, Liberty Party, one of my Nigerian friends was asking me, this woman, what's wrong with her? For you to have an African president telling you, I'm begging to leave, I want to turn over. What is she depending on?
Well, that's like good luck, Jonathan. Like, yes. I don't want your trouble again.
I don't want your trouble again. So that's because you cut that backdoor deal. Right.
We'll have to go on a break.
Guinea and Ivory Coast, the guys don't know how to cut backdoor deals.
Africa do
but what's his name has started learning. His name is Ouattara. Okay. Alassane Dramani Ouattara. If we have to go for break,
we're going on a break. Yeah. Let's go for a break and we'll be back to Saturday Show, Sky Fam.
I say, my man, you not see the new motorbike and not get Bajaj Boxer 150 UG for only $825. It's the bike that you must choose anytime you want to buy a motorbike. Because you know why? It can take you anywhere you want to go. It get the following features. It get 5 gear, your cell phone charger, gear indicator, 6-month warranty engine, strong body, Bajaj oil mix, and it get enough space for your photo rest. Strong shock absorber. And the benefit for this Bajaj Boxer 150 UG is they will give you 6-month engine warranty when you buy it. They will give you covering bear, cylinder hair, valve and crankshaft, and they get special field team to service. I mean, they get special people in the V. Anytime something happens, you just call them. They will come right there and service it for you. And the special price for this Bajaj Boxer 150 UG is for only $825. Yo, only $825. They want there like a season offer. You can find it anywhere in Liberia here. You can also get it from the headquarters in Monrovia, Silver Automobiles Limited, in Red Light, Pingsville. You can also find it at the LPRC compound, Silver Automobiles Limited. We are also in Banga Bon County, Ganta Nimba County, Cotton Tree Red near Habel in Magidi County, Buchanan City in Grand Bassa County, and Maryland County. For more information, you can contact us on 0778-674-117, 0776-251-588, or 0880-302-934. You can also contact us on 0881-233-122. So you see, my man, go and get your Bajaj Boxer 150 UG for $825. That's the best bike in town. Bajaj CT125 is the most reliable and efficient bike in town. $730 is the price for the Bajaj CT125 motorbike. Bajaj CT125 is present in more than 10 countries across the globe with close to 2 million happy riders. Bajaj CT125 bike comes with the following features: low price, fuel efficient, low maintenance, high speed, better mileage, and we give you 6 months engine warranty. $730 is the new price for the Bajaj CT125 motorbike. Contact Silver Automobiles Limited, Pinsville Red Light, or call us on 0778 674 117 or 0881 233 122. Bajaj CT125, definitely the new king of mileage.
Wow. You girl, you're looking so beautiful with your smile and shiny teeth. Tell me what got your teeth clean and shining like that. I mean, look at your teeth.
You don't know what I am using?
Yeah. Tell me now.
I am using Lucky Family toothpaste.
Lucky Family toothpaste?
Of course.
Talky, ma, let me know now.
Lucky Family toothpaste kills all the germs in your mouth and keeps your gums healthy and teeth shiny. All you need to do is brush your teeth with Lucky Family toothpaste at least 2 times a day, in the morning and when going to bed at night, to refresh your mouth.
So how can I get some to buy now?
Lucky Family toothpaste can be found in any supermarket, market, librarian, and fuller shops with Yana Ball or Get in all pharmacies, drugstores, and that shop right there. For wholesale supply, go to any local pharmacy across Liberia or call 7777 477932.
Look how they get T-Bar.
There you go. Lucky Family toothpaste comes in a red and white pack. Written on it, Lucky Family toothpaste, and is imported and distributed by Lucky Development Corporation, Lucky Pharmacy.
The Bajaj Keke with music player is out for $850. Engine warranty, distributed by Silver Compound, Gardensville, Somalia Drive, for only $2,800. And now here is another good news for you. The Bajaj CT125 is now $730. You see, what a giveaway. Now $730 is the new price for the Bajaj CT125 motorbike. Contact 0777 987 309 or 0775 066 743. Ride with comfort and feel good.
And welcome back from the break, the Saturday show. My name is Mary Williams, and Dumoe is still here, of course. So last week.
So we're on Guinea.
We're finished with Guinea.
Okay.
Yeah. Savior. Mm-hmm. Yeah, our time. Mm-hmm. Still got, people start calling abusing us that we didn't let them talk. You know. So last week, I came on the show. You called in. But we spoke on the issue.
I came on the show too, but I came by phone. You can't gossip about me from me.
You see, I'm a very good gossip. I can do it right in front of the person. And I thought everybody had gotten to their, they fought and they had expended themselves and they had and calm heads was gonna finally gain grounds and begin to fester amongst both CPP and the individual political parties. But it seems to me that I was too optimistic. I was too optimistic, and clearly within the week, like literally hell broke loose again. To the point where, I mean, I could read the stories, but there's no point. You're here to give us, since you're a CPP,
and part of the
Liberty Party, and okay. So the story we heard was there was a meeting. There've been several meetings, from what I gathered. There was a meeting on Saturday last week. There was another meeting within the week, and there was another meeting. Was it yesterday? Yesterday, 2 days ago. Today is Saturday, so yesterday. Then there was a walking out by the standard political leader. Is it Standard Bearer? Political leader of the ANC.
It's not the same thing.
No, it's not, because standard bearer would mean therefore convention has been
Political
had.
leader. Political
Okay,
leader.
political leader of the ANC, and he stormed out of this meeting. And part of what I heard his concerns were was the fact that one, they're trying to extend the tenure of the current chairperson of the CPP, and he feels that that is not right. That the owners should be on the person who's supposed to take over, which is the political leader of the Unity Party, former Vice President Menipakei. And the second one was the fact that the issue about the Constitution and whether or not the CPP framework was, I don't know.
Well,
What's the word? What's the word? Is it what altered or whatever?
Yeah,
that
but,
is that
you
is
know-
that is right.
Okay, so let
then
me-
we now heard the areas of the voting supposed to happen within the CPP. So all of that happened in one. Right? And I, looking from media standpoint and just a regular person, is like, why is this so difficult? What is it exactly that you guys can't see your way through to ensure that, look, people want you guys to do better. A lot of people are hanging their hopes on you, which means therefore it behoves on you to conduct yourself in a way where this can be done.
Well, let me, before the preaching starts, let's just recall the hard fact, the
Right.
hard facts.
Mhm.
So early on in the week, a Facebook post
Mhm.
appears online
Mhm.
in which Senator Nyomli Kanga Lawrence, political leader of the Liberty Party, reports to her followers
Mhm.
or those who are on her page
Mhm.
that a meeting had taken place,
Mhm.
and she shared photos
Mhm.
at Calabash
Right.
restaurant. And at that meeting, a number of decisions had been taken and issues had been considered, like the upcoming
Elections.
by-election,
Mhm.
and that her tenure had been extended.
Right.
That immediately sent tongues wagging, about, why. People like me also raised
I saw a post.
concerns around that.
Mhm.
And she speaks about the attendance of that meeting. At that meeting, she describes it as being the political leaders and some executives of the CPP.
Right.
Very regular and informal.
Mhm.
The way the framework document operates is that forum for decision making are defined. The members of that forum are designated
Mhm.
by offices they hold.
Mhm.
So political leaders within the CPP act at a forum called the National Advisory Council.
Right.
The constitution of that forum is as follows. The 4 political leaders, each of them are under obligation, each party is under obligation to designate a woman, a female.
Mhm.
In addition, for Liberty Party, that would make 2 females.
Right. Because the political leader is a
Right.
female. Mhm.
In addition to that, the 4-party chairperson, persons are also automatic members.
Mhm.
The legislative caucus
Right.
heads.
Okay.
So when you are convening a national executive, because for the political leaders to act, there's no forum called political leaders meeting.
Mhm.
That's informal.
Mhm.
The forum is the National Advisory Council.
Right.
And for that council to have a proper sitting, it must be properly constituted or at least have a quorum
Right.
with respect to the designated number
Mhm.
of members.
Right.
It wasn't reported and it wasn't clear that same was not done
Mhm.
at the Calabash instance, where we only saw still images.
Right.
But at the Belakasa meeting, it was clear that they had only Amin Mudad, who is the chairman of the Unity Party. He is an appropriate member of that body.
Right.
The 4 political leaders, of course, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's not the National Advisory Council.
Right.
I don't know what that body is.
Right.
But to just instrumentalize the title political leader
Mm-hmm.
and start making decisions outside of the framework document, expose the collaboration to legal actions
Mm-hmm.
that could impede progress.
Mm-hmm.
Expose the collaboration to legal actions
Mm-hmm.
that could impede progress.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Cummings recounts, in his debriefing, and the ANC asserted
Mm-hmm.
that they had informed the chairperson, which happens to be my political leader,
Mm-hmm.
Senator Menipakei Lawrence,
Mhm.
repeatedly about violating the framework document.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much good faith we have among ourselves, you still have to get used to doing things by the rules.
Mhm.
Because 4 different political parties from 4 different backgrounds, it's important that we live according to these rules.
Right.
So Liberia, we have 16 tribes. Everybody got their own culture and whatever. Guess what? A single constitution.
Right.
That is the Bible.
Mhm.
You can say, "Oh, this is my sister, therefore I'm going to treat her this way." No, the Constitution says she's a Liberian citizen,
Mm-hmm.
and that you cannot beat her at will.
Right.
You can't say, "This one is my son, so I can punch him anyhow."
Mhm.
You can't say members of the Unity Party are our partisans.
Mhm.
So even if the framework document gives them delegate voting rights,
Mhm.
we're going to take it from them
Mhm.
and do something called block voting.
Mhm.
That's not defined in the framework agreement.
Mhm.
That's not explained, expanded upon.
Mhm.
Because if you don't go by the book, you worsen the chances of having conflict. If you introduce something called block voting,
Mhm.
and if you don't have the proper forum, as to the issue around investigating the allegations raised by one was forwarded to was supposed to investigate it.
Mhm.
And that committee, in my mind, should be reporting to the National Executive Committee, which would then report to the National Advisory Council. The National Advisory Council has to be mindful that it doesn't insert itself into the day-to-day operation
Mhm.
of the CPP.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it will lose the standing to judge outcomes of processes and
Right.
procedures.
Mhm.
It will become disrespected because it will come into firing line if it acts or it begins to play administrative roles.
Right.
I heard, for example, former Vice President in his remarks after
The meeting.
Honorable Cummings exited the meeting,
Mhm.
that they were going to go through the framework document step by step to try and uncover the issues with the document.
Mm.
Cummings didn't think that this was the forum to do that,
Mhm.
and that this continuous, violation of the framework document was to be entertained.
Mhm.
At the United Nations and at other global forums, these affected parties that feel that they're not going to be heard,
Mhm.
they stage walkouts.
Mhm.
Even in parliament, the minorities can walk out.
Mhm.
You understand? And this was an arranged minority, because by shrinking the membership in attendance, by restricting invitation, you have created a false sense of a majority, because the 3 of them see things the same way.
Mhm.
Menipakei Lawrence supports Joseph Dumoe.
Mhm.
Renana Yure, no secret.
Mhm.
And then they invite Honorable Cummings into that context,
Mhm.
where Amimo, that is the only other person
Mhm.
who is clearly a Unity Party chairperson.
Mhm.
You are tilting the scale
Right.
and making it difficult for him to make any meaningful intervention.
Mhm.
So how did we get to the point where the political leaders are the ones investigating
Mm.
these claims? There's supposed to be a grievance and ethics committee built into it.
Mhm.
Those people. So if you are the leader and you are the first to talk,
Mm.
then how do you judge case? How do you pass judgment on things? If you make a mistake, who do we go to?
Right.
So the political leaders need to insulate themselves from the controversies of the day-to-day operation, making sure that the National Executive Committee of the CPP takes charge of majority of these administrative issues and dispense of it in their proper constitution.
Right.
That way will reduce the friction. The political leaders are going to be beneficiary of these processes. So it is not prudent to put them in direct charge of midwifing it. You know, like when I say they're going to be beneficiaries like of the rules and stuff, they're competing. But
the issue with the extension.
Yes. The extension is not possible under the agreement, right? It's not possible. You are supposed to serve 8 months term and pass it on to the next in line. The only time you can have you can continue on is after all of the parties in the coalition have each had 8 months. But prior to that, there's no basis given in the document. There is another scenario spoken about that could make sense if, for example, the next in line, God forbid, was dead or was terminally ill or incapacitated. I don't believe Joseph Newman-Boakai is as is incapacitated. So a basis have not been laid. However, we have seen a clarification from the Unity Party Secretary General Mo Ali, in which he asserts that there was a transitional consideration given to allow the chairperson, the current chairperson of the CPP, Nyamli Kanga Lawrence, to put house in order and hand over matters. That's quite different from extension of tenure.
Right.
You understand?
So where are we now? Because it seems
where
to me
we
like
are now is that
on that
Unity Party essentially in their statement are saying they are going to take over
when?
In October when her tenure expires. So I think they've
so is that done?
I think it's done.
Okay, so let's take
now
that out of the
move
table.
To the next thing, which the media is mixing these two things up. The suggestion around block voting is not coming out of the meeting that we that was reported about yesterday.
Okay,
that's a separate thing.
So what came out of that meeting was the constitution, the framework document where they wanted to look line by line and the extension.
Yeah, extension and other things that
by election.
Yeah, that should have been properly done by the executive committee,
right?
Which was
not handed over.
Yeah, which the political leaders are trying to take on. So they are making the National Advisory Council less of an advisory body and more of an administrative body, thereby usurping
their powers.
Let me connect this back to this pattern of distrust and paranoia, this fundamental fear that's been mongered by Benoni Yure, this unsettling of Joseph Boakai by Yure, conspiracy theories that executives across the four parties have been bought by Cummins, and so they should try and take on some of these sensitive executive committee roles before Cummins, quote unquote, Cummins agents manipulate the system in his favor. So in this new thinking, Joseph Boakai and Nyomli and Yure are now going to play a very active administrative role, basically trying to replace the National Executive Committee, the three of them. And they believe that if they can restrict membership of the National Advisory Council to just political leaders, then they can have the upper hand on Cummins, because that will make for just 4 persons,
right?
Whereas 3 of them have the same. So they're trying to create an artificial advantage. But it's destructive, it's destabilizing in my mind.
I want to ask a question though.
Okay,
are you
on the block voting?
Yeah. Are you saying that the 4 political leaders haven't met before and made a decision at the time the going was good and you all agreed with it without the executive committee being a part of it?
I've yet to see evidence of that. Under Senator Nyomli Kanga Lawrence, who's from my own party, even some of the Unity Party people that love her today because she's leaning toward, let me borrow Senator Dylan Connie language, leaning toward Boakai, they would admit that it's been dead. A lot of things have not been done in terms of the regular meetings and things like that. Okay. All of a sudden, towards the end of her tenure, very little to show for it. We're seeing this hyperactivity that is also attempting to strain the entire organization. You're not going to get in 1 month what you couldn't do in 6 or 7 months.
7 months. It's 8 months, right?
Yeah, 8 months. So to the block voting,
did they have the Cummins term? Because Cummins seems to be like the first chairperson
under the
under the framework itself,
Yeah.
because Ure was there before the
Right.
framework was put together,
Right.
and his term was extended. Was Cummings' term extended?
No, they don't have any proof of extension of tenure. What happened under Cummings? I think Cummings wrote a letter to Senator Nyomli and told her that I want to turn over. I don't want to stay a day longer. It was her that was dealing with her post-election issue and needed to put her house in there.
So this is in January.
Yes, and it was few
and
days.
also the convention was taking place.
Yes, and it was few days. He didn't take any major action. He didn't take any. He didn't go to try and review the framework document, for example, before turning over. Those are major decisions that you don't take when you add a tenure.
Okay, block voting.
Block voting
I found out
is
that,
a suggestion. Okay. I want it when you finish.
Yeah.
Today I came loaded.
I say, you notice me. I. If you notice, I'm playing like I'm laying low.
Yes,
I have my own information. You know me now, but I don't want to hear it first because So block voting, I first saw that on Facebook and I was thinking, okay, so what exactly
do they mean?
What exactly is, where is this block voting taking place? Is this block voting taking place intra-party or inter-CDC, inter-CPP? Where is this block voting? What is the block voting for exactly? In the framework of the CPP, is there a guideline? Because in the Constitution, I've seen Wade Power write a bit of things. I could go on to read it, but it's long, and I can just take the essence of it. Where you're quoting the Constitution, and it's 1-by-1 vote. She does the pros and cons of block voting and all that. And she cites the Constitution and the party framework. And the collaborating party framework constitution articles in there. She talks about the Constitution of Liberia and how it says voting should take place. My question is, in the framework of the CPP, what are the guidelines? Because the Constitution sets a date for the voting. It sets eligibility for those who can vote, eligibility for those who can contest. But then it is the National Commission that sets the guidelines on how voting can happen. What is in the framework?
This is why I think the Secretariat of the CPP needs to be more robust. The National Executive Committee needs to be more robust. It's headed by Musa Beledi now. They need to come to the public and communicate that the guidelines have not been provided yet, promulgated yet. It has to be derived and then published. But it has to be in conformity with what's set out in the framework document. The framework document clearly states who can participate as a delegate. For example, all party chairpersons, all political leaders. These are directed as to the individual.
Right.
And the overall view taken in the document is that these delegates are not for political parties. They are representing political parties, but they are CPP delegates.
Okay, so basically, because in the way that I want people to follow and understand it. I know people, but the way that I understand it, what political parties are seeking to do, because it is a collaboration, not a merger, which means therefore political parties maintain their identity and their political processes within. So intra-party, they maintain the political processes, and the way that I understand what folks who are propagating the block voting is that within our political party, we can decide how we want to choose our delegates to the CPP.
Oh, they're free to do that.
To the CPP. Let me just finish this.
Yeah.
They're free to choose who they want, how they want the person to be. For instance, the standard bearership position of the CPP. One person has said, well, I want to run. The other person is saying, oh, well, I have to go for convention. I think that's what Cummings is saying, that he needs to go for convention. Well, the other political party, I don't know if they've gone to convention to decide who becomes a standard bearer.
No, they said they're having a program at their party headquarters to endorse their standard bearer. They're not going to convention.
Is that how their constitution
So
provides
Joseph
for?
Boakai in 2016 was elected standard bearer of the Unity Party. It's a 6-year term. He's in the 5th year of that 6-year term. He hasn't sought a new mandate to prepare him for the 2023 fight.
Yes.
And without seeking another mandate, on the strength of the remaining 1 year, he's seeking to get a flowery endorsement today and position that for CPP consideration.
But that party can do what they want, right? How they arrive at their standard bearer position, it should not be the worry of the CPP.
Okay,
because it's an
so I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish in
because
total.
so it's an intra-party
issue
situation, and which is where I'm a little confused as to where the block voting is coming from. Okay. Is the block voting about intra-party block voting, or is it at the CPP level voting? And I remind people again, and you, that it's a collaboration, not a merger, which means therefore the identity of these political parties remain, and their party inter-party constitution remain as a guide to what they do within their.
Let me start with Article 12 of the Framework Document Dispute Resolution.
Right.
So it talks about setting up a ad hoc grievance council within 72 hours in receipt of written complaint under 8.5. Composition of the ad hoc committee. You understand? So this is the group that should be dealing with investigating things about the framework document. I was just saying that before I come to block voting. It is being asserted by some of Boakai's strategists, including Henry Pedro Costa, who's quite blunt about the whole matter. He said they believe that Cummins is going to try to bribe delegates, and so in order to avoid that, regardless of what's in the framework document, they are not going to submit 310 delegates as they are obligated to do under the framework document. The framework document specifically asks each party to, in a certain manner, first of all, there are certain automatic delegates that the framework recognized. The political leader of that party, county chairpersons are mentioned, party chairpersons are mentioned, and then they'll say 3 from each district, 15 from each executive committee. So there's certain people by office, they've already attained this right. Henry Costa is saying to hell with all of that. They at the ALP and in the Unity Party are going to bring only 2 persons. One of them will vote for UP, one of them will vote for ALP, and that will represent each of the 310 delegates. Right. And we are saying, some of us are saying, that is not a process that is recognized by the framework document.
No, but the framework document does not say how they can choose who represents them.
No, they are free to choose who represents them, but they have to bring those people.
They have to bring all the 310. Right. So they can't decide within
they
them.
They can't say that I alone represent 310%.
No, but if the party what if the party says we represent here's a voice of the party.
Yes.
That look, for us, this is our party constitution allows us to nominate a person who speaks on our behalf.
Right. So and you should have asserted that during the negotiation. You should have asserted that during the negotiation. You have agreed to a process where you will be free to select your delegates from your party, your strong men, your people, your pillars from all across the country. And one of the reasoning behind that is to make sure that the ordinary people, that people really support who comes out,
right,
and that they are not just forced because of friendship or everybody will see me opposing my own party person. They want people to vote freely.
Right.
So in this case, an ANC person can even vote for Boakai.
Right.
He can say, I don't think Cummins is the right man. He can go vote for Boakai. He can say a UP person should be free. You shouldn't put people in that position where they have to. Now everyone is confrontational to tell you, say, boss man, I don't believe you can do it.
Right.
That's why secret voting that's why it was invented. And so for it to be a popular decision, we wanted a lot of our people to participate in it. And we wanted to be a big show of force of the opposition that we gathered and we spoke. And these are Liberians from all across. It's not just the elite sitting down and the executive committee members making these decisions. We want to ground it in the grassroots and setting the pace for CPP victory.
Right.
And more importantly, if that's how the Unity Party constitution told them that they should vote, then we will see evidence of that. So we will see evidence of that. UP is not in utopia. It's on earth. It has had conventions before. We can see evidence of that, where one person vote for all the delegates from a county at a national place. If that's not being in practice, then you're being fictitious. That's not
so what you're saying that there's no precedent.
Because Unity Party is it's a regulated entity.
Right.
It must submit convention minutes to the National Elections Commission. If we don't do it by law, we risk a lot of things at the National Elections Commission too.
Right.
Because we are all regulated. And we risk fracturing the union, and we risk electing a candidate that cannot win the election. We don't want people to be constrained and say, oh, my name Menipakei Dumoe, I've been talking for Cummins, so I shy to tell Cummins he can win in his face. But you can a secret ballot and vote for a guy that you think can win.
Right. But don't you think that because the bribery thing is a big deal?
The bribery thing does not suffice.
No,
here's why it doesn't suffice.
Let's put it this way. If you're saying block voting is not
recognized by the document,
well, their issue is that the bribery too is not recognized. Therefore, anybody practicing that should not be.
But how do you take decision on something that's unproven? You've not found anybody bribing any delegates. You don't have a concrete scenario that you can show. You are telling me that all of your delegates are potential criminals, because anybody who participates in bribery is a criminal. You are also insulting the
intelligence of your own,
and you are also insulting your coalition partners, accusing them of high crime, that they are going to pay bribes. What you need to do is set in place a system that minimizes that. And where do you draw the line? Because even at the national level, there's a potential that a ruling party may bribe voters. May give voters 10,000 LD or 2,000 LD, or give them t-shirts. Promise them things. So you're going to walk away from the election. Or is Joseph Boakai going to ask the National Elections Commission so that he votes on behalf of all Unity partisans, so that he can protect their votes? All of them will sign.
I'm sorry, that was funny.
Because I'm a reasonable man,
right?
And if you give me a line of reasoning, I try to think, where does it end?
Right.
That's so if you take it to a logical conclusion, you will reach absurdity. So you are going to insulate yourself from the probability of bribery throughout, because no point just
doing it within the
at the primary level. You have to now go and make sure that all 2-point-something million voters in Liberia, none of them receive money in exchange for the voting ID card, because people have been selling their voting ID card, because it's common practice. For example, if Wia knows he's not popular in Lofa, he can buy the youth from Lofa, he can buy their voting ID card, voluntary disenfranchisement. So you can win 90% of 25 voters.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So all the voters that won't make it to the polls and that can vote in your area. Why am I teaching people strategies? But I'm just saying.
I said that.
But I'm just saying that the problem they're proposing to cure, first of all, has not been proven to exist. Secondly, is not cured by their intervention. So even if you did block voting, how do you demonstrate that the right was turned over to you? Because, for example, if I'm a chairman of the Unity Party, I have a right, as per the framework document, to vote. Let's say the majority Unity Party told me, say, we are going to do block voting. And I said, my view is different. I don't want to vote for our party head. So now you have two blacks coming from your party. Each, because they are the holders of the right to vote.
Right.
So they're saying, we are not going to vote for our party head. So now you may have 6 blocks coming out of Unity Party. Because I suspect Boakai is afraid of Unity Party. He doesn't want to have a convention. Convention is the strongest test of your popularity within your party, because that's when the entire party is represented. So if Boakai wants to demonstrate to us to us that he's the same man he was in 2017, the rising star, the rock star of Unity Party. Let him hold an event that brings together all of his party main players from across the country and be held there and survive such a forum. Okay. Like Cummins will have to do as well. It shows that you have broad legitimacy within your party. But to be doing all these technicalities where people are meeting at your house, then they after eating your food and drinking your water, then they say you are the king. Then they come to the party headquarters, they play music, few people that are around you, and then you gather a crowd. We don't know if they're actually United Party people or whatever. But if you have a party convention, you know that there's a delegate process. We'll respect you more. So yeah, it's good to win all the radio calling polls, but show us you are the man in your party.
Okay. Before I open the phone lines, I'm just gonna say this about
show some
the whole
confidence
thing.
in your people.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this about the whole process, without giving away too much information. Okay, so here's the thing. On the coming side, because at this point we're not even talking about governance, we're just talking about just winning an election, winning the primaries. On the coming side, here's what I would advise. Cummings should not, I feel, this situation is almost untenable. You can't sustain it. Neither party can sustain it. The options are break up and everybody can go their separate ways, which they totally lose face with Liberians, or suck it up, stay together, and see this to the finish line. And for Cummings, his best approach to this would be to figure out how he can win, have a strong primary, even if you don't win, but have a strong primary. Show really strong leadership within the primary and let people see you're not a pushover, which is what we are being fed. Politics is about perception. When we feel that no, you're not a strong candidate, we're not going to take you like a strong candidate. Okay. One of the ways you can show that is to make sure that in the primaries, in the way that it's going, you're able to show that you're strong. The ideal ticket, I've said this, I'm going to keep saying it till I turn blue, is a Cummings, is a Boakai Cummings ticket. That's the ideal ticket for Liberia. Okay. It might not be an ideal ticket to function in government. It might not be, but it's an ideal ticket for Liberia. So at this point, we're looking at people ignoring some of their basic instincts, which is their ego and all that. Oh, this person slighted me, for the greater good of the country, to ensure that, well, the country is well served and you are not looking at this as me. But what about me? And they treated me badly. No. Can you be vice president? Yes. Can that ticket win? Yes. It is actually the best ticket to win. Okay. When you win, we know there are noises that are not going to go away, right? As a matter of fact, once you win, as happened with this particular government, then there'll be the tough war fight, we can't allow the vice president because she's going to act like she did that. We can't, it's our turn now. We got to do this. You got to allow that to happen. He has to. He has to be in a position where he's allowing that happen. Let everybody expend themselves, okay? But what he should be thinking is, look, in 6 years, I will be the most viable candidate. Okay, so all this noise here, he needs to figure out how to swallow it. I understand it's hard. He's a big guy, whatever. But in the interest of the country, to me, I feel that's what needs to happen. In the same way, Liberia needed to get over the wear factor, you need to get over Uncle Joe. And once he becomes president, right, I believe that thing will leave them and he can run the country as best as he can, right? I know he's going to have his own people and all that. I know there's going to be a tug of war between both of them because there are going to be too many people within the space, saying all kinds of things. I think Cummings' best bet is to have a more long-term plan and ignore this fight at this level, right? And the reason why I'm talking about doing a strong showing at the level of the primaries, reason why I'm talking about that is, well, if he doesn't win 30% of the vote, obviously he lends himself to, but we said it, you're not even strong, you're not but if he rises up to 45, going up in that sense, then he goes into that partnership with strength, right? He doesn't have a base right now. He really doesn't. Okay. The noise on Facebook is all well and good, but you don't win elections on Facebook, right? People actually have to, individuals in the country have to physically go and vote for you. Okay. Which means, therefore, we need a more, we need somebody who can win locally. The government is also running. Let's not forget that. That is your opponent. Okay. That is your biggest opponent. This fight, the shenanigans you guys are about, I understand when two or three are gathered, there's going to be confusion. However, there has to be a way where you all are doing this in a way where it lends credibility to the process and to your governance strategy. Cummins can use the period to study what is wrong with the country, because he can use his VP position as his intent better for the next 6 years. Getting immersed in this quagmire, and then we're all not working out of this. To me, I just think is throwing tantrums. Whatever legitimacy he might have to do it, right? The perception is that he's throwing tantrums, right? He
To
might be
you.
right.
To
It's
you.
it's a public.
To you.
No, because
But
trying to
I'm
explain-
listening. I'm
trying
listening
to
for you to
explain-
finish so
one
that I
minute,
can say my
trying
piece.
to explain, trying to explain to the Liberian public that, oh, he walked away, and then you see the framework, and then you want to deal with technicalities. Nuances is lost. Is lost. People saw, oh, he went, and you see that if you're talking it, the neck can even sit down and say, you even show respect to your elder. Say, look at him, that acting like you know everything. Say, if you see me, you don't need that perception of him. You really don't. And on the UP side, you guys should know even better. You guys have been in government. The person you're putting as your party leader and your standard bearer has been in government for 40 something years, right? He's been a vice president for 12 years, which means, therefore, he comes into this with the most enormous experience than any other person contesting, within the party. As a matter of fact, any other person within the party, period, right? So it behoves on him, his age and his experience should bring forth a way where this collaboration makes sense to the country. He himself needs to see. I know he needs people to guide and all that, but he needs to show maturity and how this can be done that lends credibility to him. Okay, can you win this election? Yes, but is this how you're going to win it? No. Do not discourage people who would have supported you because, well, you're listening to so and so person. You yourself, you're indecisive. You don't know what you're going to do, or you're promising this one. Just hang around there. No, what is in the best interest of the country, I think, is where we should be. I'm saying again, governance is harder than this thing here you all are doing, because the end game is governance. How will you govern? Can you govern? Is this a recipe for a good governance? Should you win election? Is this what we're going to be seeing in your government? Is this it? And I think you guys need to be cognizant of that the perception that the public is getting from you is that you all are just like kids throwing a tantrum who don't know what the hell they want, and everybody wants to show that they're smarter than the other, right? And that is just not working, right? It's not working. As much as you might have everybody standing go, yeah, I'm right on this. Yeah, but what about the greater good of the country? Are selfish interests? Put aside for a minute that, okay, for the interest of the country, we need to do this. Can we do this way? What is the way forward? How like this? How our conflicts? How long are we going to be doing this? What is the end game with us doing this? We want to govern. Are we impressing people that we can govern? A political party cannot they can't even speak to each other. We can see what happened the first year, right, of a new government. Do we want to suffer the country in that same situation again? Is that what we want to do? Do we want to have a situation where, and UP, the entitlement thing, I get it. No, you're not. You need to fight for this thing here. Act like you care. Act like you care enough that you want to govern people, and you care enough that we're not going to, it's like people come up with a plan, and then we're going to cocoon Uncle Joe somehow, and then deliver him to Liberians. No, let him fight for this thing here. You guys allow people see him doing that. Okay, it's important that is done, and that goes for everybody else. And most importantly, neither of these people, which one of them really has, because this country survives on aid. which of them really has somebody at the White House or at these other places? At least this person here can go to Macron and hug him and do whatever. Right? Which one of them has that? We need to deal with this issue, and then we get into the healthcare and all those things. Those are the conversations we need to be having, not these other things. You guys are annoying people now, man. I enjoy the drama, by the way.
Okay, as annoying as we are to you, that's democracy. It was easier in Guinea when one man was just ruling for three terms. Look where we ended up. By no means should Cummins even consider running as number 2 to Boakai. It would be the worst political calculation I've ever seen. Joseph Boakai is vulnerable to not being selected by the CPP, largely because he's shown very little initiative and energy to be able to come in after Weah and deliver a credible economic program to transform the lives of the Liberian people. We're not looking for 1 year glory where we'll win election and dance for 2 weeks, and then we have a total turnaround on us, and the masses will depart and probably never to return. They will go back to something extreme if we don't deliver economic prosperity as we are promising in the post. We even see if we are coming back to power that time, probably for three terms. Because mind you, he's young.
Mm-hmm. He's younger than both of you.
If you put a weak candidate forward who is incapable of delivering on governance and on the economic prosperity promise, then we would justify the seditions. The CDC that will emerge after that will probably be undefeatable because we will be forever cast as liars and people incapable of delivering on the promise. Our own people will turn on us. The whole issue about voting base, I don't know how you look at, say, for example, Charles Walker Bromskin had a voting base of around 100, 120, 130,000, 140,000. It used to fluctuate, right? Prince Johnson has a similar type of voting base, right? Around a little over 100,000. Cummins is in that club of around 100,000 plus voters. He did cross the 100,000 mark. As loud as Benoni Ayuri and the ALP are, Benoni Ayuri has had a public sector job, several. He went to the post and couldn't even find 30,000 votes. He performed almost like me in Bon County. Very low performance with the voters, right? So you can't tell someone with a voting base of over 100,000 that he doesn't have a base. Merely because the base is not marked by tribe or by region doesn't mean that it's not there. Let's take, for example, Ellen Johnson said if there was no county allotted to her to say this is her base, so to speak. Same, no ethnic base. But candidates with ethnic base, it's very difficult for them to win an election. That's one of the things that also hold Boakai down. People see him as mostly Lufian and of promoting Lufa interest type of thing. And that could limit him. Same with Prince Johnson. Very good at winning, but every time he does it, he just wins Nimba. And then that's it. Because his narrative, like I said, Cummins has a better narrative. Boakai have more historical numbers, right? But I say, whenever the narrative changed, the numbers change. CDC had traditionally won Monserrato until the narrative changed in 2019, where the narrative of CDC now was not a grassroots movement trying to save the poor people, but a what do we call a parasite elite, over-consuming more than a fair share of the government resources. You are right in saying that we have to bring this to a close, but when in doubt, follow the rules. I think, like you said, both Cummins and Joseph Boakai are leaders, and it's upon them to bring this to a close so that our people stop, so that the anxiety that our people are having can be put to rest. That the two of them have to find a way to work together for this thing to reach a meaningful end.
I want to open the phone lines, but I disagree with you about the vice president position. 07777. Yeah, because it's the ideal ticket. You want to win an election.
It's your ideal ticket.
07777 is an ideal ticket. I'll open the phone. I'm gonna ask now. I'm gonna open the phone line. 07777
doesn't mean that you can finance it.
Charlie.
Oh, you started by telling me your mother of Jesus. But still.
0777. 07777 07777 221 223 is number you can call. Dumoe is arguing with me, or Dumoe say Black Cummings ticket is not the ideal ticket. What y'all say? Hello.
Thank you, Miss Mary.
Yeah.
And the honorable man in studio. I listened to his analysis. But for me, I have a different view for Honorable Alexander Cummings walking from the meeting. I think he should have stayed there and step increasingly whatsoever is bothering him. But you know why I was there?
From the meeting.
Honorable Cummings is only using the legal document for legal backing of his action. But what I observe is the ALP, the Liberty Party, and the former Unity Party, they're all looking at things the same way. All of them see things the same way. So if you see things the same way, then my presence there, my voice, my opinion, I mean, we're not giving anything. I think that's why you all said. But if they're not giving something, you should have stayed there to express his opinion. But walking away, I don't see.
So what's the solution? What's the solution?
Well, the solution is that you see, the ANC have not tested any election in this country, and the United Party has tested election. They know their strength.
But ANC contested twice.
Once.
2011,
2017.
2011, they didn't have a standard.
It was not even
they have contested any presidential election.
Yes. Cummings was there in 2017. You didn't know
Cummings
that?
got over 100,000 votes when he tried.
Okay. Thank you for your correction. I agree with you. But you see, the Unity Party and the Liberty Party, any election that come out there, the ANC always come fourth because they always come fourth. So even when Honorable Baka win the primary, I don't think he will let her choose Alexander Cummings because they all believe that Alexander Cummings does not have a political base. They want to go for Yomdi Kakaloran. I'm telling you, you see.
Has she ran for president before?
She has not run for president before.
But I thought you told me that was important.
No, it was important because
Party's there now. Party's there now.
He said, give up with his Hello? 07777 I'll tell you,
it's
man.
like drawing a line and someone's standing behind you. I don't know why you're drawing a line, a circle.
It's crazy.
Is there someone on the line?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the issue with the ticket, I want people to tell me. Hello.
Yeah, Mary.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
This is Ryan from Canada.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Mary, based upon the framework that was established by these political parties, if you look at the calculation, most individuals that will be doing the regular voting for a Senate for the party should be maybe somewhere like 1,240 persons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's assume that if ANC bring that 3, or Liberty Party bring that 3, what is the fear of Unity Party if they are saying that they are the ones that are supposed to be there?
If you say you're popular.
But their fear is that Cummings has a deep pocket and he can buy off delegates.
They don't
have deep pockets.
So you measure everybody packet? So why did you agree to having a convention?
Precisely.
Yeah. Why did you agree to have a convention?
So I've been listening to I've been listening to Cummings. Every one of them are pushing to be president.
Right.
None of them have come out to say they want to be the second. If you look at the collaborative political party, Johnny Carter is not saying nothing.
No, but you won't be the vice president.
But she eyeing the VP
slot. But you won't be vice president.
Precisely, so she won't be vice president. So you have to
Hello. Okay.
You
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is one calling from Singo.
Okay.
Maybe you see, I agree with your analysis, like 95%, right? The only aspect of analysis I don't agree with is the Wakai community ticket. That's what I don't agree with. Absolutely institution. So I think if community insists on going for primaries and lose, I so the open bucket to carry either or John Mikaga Lawrence or either Gongo Way of Nima as from me. That's my personal choice. You understand? But besides, if in case the team that goes to do the election to vote do the primaries mistakenly vote comments as Senator.
So when the vote back out, I'm mistake.
No, that means
my man, you are a good Muslim. Be fair. You are a good Muslim. Be fair, man. He said mistakenly vote.
No, I'm not because let me know.
I said you are a good Muslim. Be fair. How you say?
I had to cover my.
How you say when they mistakenly vote?
Give me chance.
I want to get you change, but I want you to give me some fairness.
You were on
the
station with your station with and I told you
go.
on mission. You
but man, you can accuse everybody.
You were on mission.
He said what is what?
We are on mission.
Okay. But what's your mission though?
What are on a mission?
Their mission is to ensure Ellen's position comes to pass.
But Ellen, are you not a part of woman? Ellen, are you? You're the one brought Ellen into the collaboration.
What's up?
Into the collaboration. When Ellen became evil, you're president twice. You're United Party people. And Mary William.
We agree. She's a part of the party.
You're mayor
president. Country, right?
So that we don't want brought Ellen.
Let's discuss our Cummins for a while. Cummins served as head of Coca-Cola Africa. He was on the radio saying he went to Ethiopia and helped Ethiopia to build the economy. How did he help Liberia build the economy? Even during our times of war. How did he do
that? Is that a prerequisite to be president?
And they're asking the campaign open. Then we'll talk.
Let him go. Let's take other callers. I saw callers are waiting, but we had to fight with him. You had to fight with him first.
No, I just love the mistakenly that when a vote for Baka correct, when a vote for Kumi,
everybody has their own supporters.
I enjoy them now.
Everybody has their own supporters. They're not.
I say I accept.
You guys can't fight.
We want to encourage more mistakes.
Mistakenly.
He said you are on a mission to make sure Ellen Kennedy win. But Ellen is a United Party.
Hello?
Hello,
yes.
How are you today?
I'm all right.
Mama Dumoe, how are you coming up?
No, I'm not Mama Dumoe, brother.
No,
he's not tall enough. He's not black enough.
I'm not tall and black, and my Mandingo is not.
You don't have to be black,
and he's not in the military. But so go ahead.
Issues. Look at the situation here when it comes to labor politics. One thing about a number. And not because you get extreme more or you got some few passing more surrounding, you want to take over the party or you want to become the final power for the PDP. 2017 elections, Cummins and Walker, who put on more weight? Between two of them, who put on more weight? Question number one. Number two, which county Cummins can deliver right now? If Cummins becomes the final power, which county Cummins can deliver right now?
I let we make it do it. No program.
When you use Ellen as the example, you can't compare because in 2005 nobody really had a base. So when you grow as you were in government, then president. She could not have a base as president because she was president for everybody, but she still won her Bumi County.
Okay, Mary.
No, but I just Charlie, when you
problem.
say so, we gotta
But
check
I
it.
show you my base. It started. It's been
Right.
6 years. It's grown. Let's
Right.
check it out.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Jesse Kingsbrook Global Jr.
Right.
And I'm pleased to be a proud apologist of the coming innovation agenda.
Oh,
sorry,
Well,
we didn't hear that.
You're proud of who?
I say I'm proud to be an apologist.
You're an apologist. Oh,
agenda.
Charlie, you won't be somebody can call you apologist. Okay.
No, but
Maybe let
I
it be
believe in the doctrine and philosophy of Mr. Cummings
Right.
for a prosperous nation.
Right.
But you know, the veterans said it all, and whenever veterans speaks, we who learn it from them, we don't say much, but instead we just call to comment. But there are a few things quickly I would like to raise concern. One, maybe I don't want you to open the floodgate of contradiction. In your analysis, you make reference in regards to Mr. Cummings going second on the basis of these.
On the basis of what?
In your analysis, before you push the question to Dumoe, there were concerns raised by you why they say Mr. Cummings want to go at second in terms of numbers. But that is an archaic politicking. Sorry, my choice of word is not okay. We are selling a brand that is easy to sell. Mind you now, Mary, there are three bases for which I believe in Cummings. And I believe that you should steer the ticket. Old my brother has been around for some time. He has worked. I think the thing to do is to retire honorably and giving all his immunity. It is unnormal that like example, right?
Please hurry up, because we're finished. We're done.
Sure. So it is not normal for me to send my 80-year-old grandfather to go and fend for me. He does not have the energy. Traditionally, it's an insult. Psychologically, globally, when you reach the stage of 65, it says your
no man, Charlie, I gotta let you go because I supported your candidate. No man, you said I was don't even start there. We have a lot of 80-year-old, 70-year-old, 78-year-old. Biden is 78 years old. So don't talk. And archaic. When you say it's archaic, have you studied the librarian? What is changed in the librarian landscape? Archaic is still what we're doing here. So we're dealing with what we're doing.
Mary,
I gotta go though.
If we will go to school, do not show our people the red path. Trust me, we'll continue to be voting on sentimental issues.
Yeah, but wait, okay. All right. Sentimental issues. Okay. Yes. And that's how we're gonna vote. Get used to it. We're going to. You guys, thank you so much for calling. The calls we could not take. Sorry. Next time we promise to do better.
I wanted to wrap up and like you said, the entire enterprise that is the CPP is built on the hope that the numbers will change. That numbers are not stagnant. Because if the numbers are stagnant, then even if you elect Joseph Boakai, the 350,000 vote margin that was between he and we are, if the numbers have not changed, we will not be able to account for it.
Right.
The entire enterprise called CPP is an enterprise hoping that the numbers will be affected by the narrative of stagnation of the country and so on and so forth. We can appeal to people for them to change their minds. Right. What most of you callers have been beating me for is what our entire victory is bent on. That people will change their mind politically. A guy who voted for CDC last time will now say, because there are a lot of people who voted for CDC that are not hardliners. They're not hardliners. I think the last you're telling me sometimes the brand can get tired and they will just flip. So we need people to flip. So next time you're calling someone a political party to do it, in mind that you're going to beg them to change your way.
Alrighty. Also from Dumoe, we're going now. I'm just appealing to the political leaders, act like leaders and stop acting like children. It's enough. I'm out. We'll be back Saturday, 10 o'clock, the Saturday show. Mary Williams, have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Commemorations bring everything painfully back, as if you just got the news a few seconds ago.
We'll go live to Ground Zero in New York, and we'll hear from someone who was in the World Trade Center complex when the planes plunged into the Twin Towers.
For those people on 9/11, their decision